Absolute Flash, issue 15, Jeff Lemire writing with Nick Robles on the art. So, this book's been getting better, and this issue sets us off very abruptly with Wally getting this weird visit from future Wally. Now, it could just be a dream, or it could be future Wally coming back to warn him. That seems very possibly likely. I will say the abrupt start to this one did catch me off guard a little bit, where I was like, oh,
yes,
this feels like it's going too big too quick. Like, I don't know if I'm quite buying into how heavy this is supposed to feel. So
I was like, wait, how did the last issue end? And I was like, nothing like this. It was a nice little, because it was him and Linda, and then I was like, okay, he's shooting us out of a cannon to start with. And then when we see like the older Wally, like it's not just future Wally, but it's like 10 years in the future Wally. Because he looks grown, looks more what we, our Wally from the mainstream. Wearing the same costume, and we're getting to some timey-wimey stuff here.
Yeah, so I do think this opening, there's some interesting things that it teases. I didn't love the opening scene, though, just because it went so heavy so quick that I felt like, whoa, slow down a little bit. Like, get me in the mood for some of this, will you?
It's so funny with how this book started, where it was taking its time, and then we get to issue 15, and he's launching us out at the gate.
Yeah, because for me, like, this book's at its strength when it slows down and like does more character work. And luckily, a lot of the middle of the issue is that, like, afterwards, Linda comes out and finds him standing in the street, and he's standing there in his boxers, and she's like, yeah, you were sleepwalking or something. Hey, I've been doing some research on, this Atom fella, or, well, I shouldn't say Atom, she's Ray Palmer. You don't know he's the Atom yet, but, and like, all that stuff is good. I really appreciated, like, don't get me wrong, I was a little disappointed that he didn't take her with him to go and investigate, but I'm not mad at it because that's very much how she feels. And he leaves her standing there. She's like, don't you dare just run off without me. And then he does. And then, like, I was like, you know what, Linda, I'm on your side, and I am looking forward to you giving him shit for this in the next issue or two.
So I like here that they show that she's already great at finding things, right? Because it ties into her journalism. That we expect from her, that when she finds out all the information about Star Labs, which has, Ray Palmer, Silas Stone, Barry Allen, and the Mirror Master, that it was buried somewhere, but you just have to know where to look. And I was like, oh, okay, so she's crafty. She knows how to find things. He's going to need this. He's going to have to come running back and apologize, and we should have been doing this together type stuff.
Yeah, I think a big part of his arc here is going to be learning that they should be a team, and that he's going to have to. And when I say team, I mean more. No, I mean more in the sense of, like, if they are going to be a couple like they are in the main universe, and all signs point to that being the case, then it's going to be realizing that I'm not a solo lone wolf. I am someone who is part of a partnership. And I think this is kind of the early seedings of, like, starting to learn that. And this is a mistake that he has made early on in that partnership.
Well, he's going to have to, Wally, who's a bit of a loner in this universe, is going to have to learn to rely on others. That he can't do it all by himself. And this is the first part of that, which I do like. But just all the art here when they're talking, there's this one panel of Linda where she's holding the laptop and she has like this kind of goofy smile on her face. And she's going, I need to recharge and pack a change of clothes. And it's so playful and giddy. And it reminds you that they are teenagers.
Yeah. And then he ruins it by immediately saying that, no, I'm going on my own. It's too dangerous. I can't have it and happen to you, which obviously is a nice intention, but she gets mad, of course, and leaves her standing there. And that final panel of her head going down, just feeling sad, it was, it hit quite nicely. Obviously, all the stuff in the dream, which is basically just Wally of the future saying, hey, you got to stop looking for your dad. You cannot go back to the still point. Bad things are going to happen, and teases the Black Flash, which is obviously maybe what we're building.
Personified.
Yeah, we're building to this villainous force now.
And it is not the Flash in the black suit that we're used to. It is some weird, like, ghoulish, kind of reapery looking thing. So points on the design too.
Yeah, redesign for the Absolute Universe, and obviously later on we get to, like, the stuff where in the lab. But before we get to that, it goes to the Rogues, who are chilling on a farm, somewhere. And Weather Wizards.
Is it bad that I'm enjoying this section a little bit more because I want to know what Cold's up to on his farm?
I don't think it's bad though. I mean, because Weather Wizards like making it rain for the crops and stuff like that. Boomerang's like frustrated because he wants to go and get drunk or whatever. Also, Glider and Jesse are apparently having a bit of a fling.
Something?
Yeah, because who is it? I think it's Boomerang walks in on them.
Yeah.
But they get a message from absolute Rick Flag, apparently, who messages them and says, "Hey, I'm willing to basically give you all amnesty and a clean slate, right? The government's authorized this, but you have to clean up a mess for us. You have to kill Grodd." And that's kind of the tease that it ends on, is that the rogues are going to be enlisted to do this. I do like that the rogues are definitely being presented as a group of anti-heroes in this, as opposed to like slightly more villainous than they usually are. Yeah. So that's kind of nice.
Also, and this is where I stopped reading for the rogues, because you leave that sweet monkey telekinetic alone, okay? Grodd just wants to help. Grodd likes people, even though, he has no reason to.
We'll see.
Leave that baby alone.
We'll see what happens there. But yeah, so Wally speeds off to Detroit, where the final Star Labs is meant to be with Silas Stone. And there's a tease here actually for Cyborg, and obviously as soon as they mention Silas Stone, that's kind of a tease in and of itself. But
especially Detroit, nonetheless, it's not a Star Labs elsewhere. It's Cyborg's hometown.
But I think his father's a bigger deal, though, right? Like they mentioned he's like,
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like we're there. There's stuff there.
But basically, this hologram recording of the Atom starts playing, and he mentions at one point, "Oh, I hope you find Victor." So Victor's missing, and Silas is looking for him. That's interesting little detail that I'm sure is going to come back up later. But yeah, basically, again, also warns that, hey, everything we were doing needs to be stopped. Barry's working with Thawne. This is obviously from the past when they were, working together. We need to stop them. We can't have them find the still force. He basically says that Barry and Thawne see the still point as like this like rich mine that can be excavated for valuable resources. But no, I've been looking at it on like a subatomic level. Like something bad's in there, and it's basically like he's hitting towards Black Flash as well here, that there's some dark force underneath all of it that's going to be a problem, and we have to stop them. So it's teasing stuff here quite well. And the issue just kind of ends with Wally picking up like his like journal, which talks about the still point. I do like that the diagram of like because it's basically like the surface of the still point and then like the underground, but the underground makes the lightning bolt of the Flash symbol. Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, gateway timeline. There's all these different things going on where they're trying to figure out what's going on. There's a gravitational pull in the middle, but then there's also like an Omega symbol on the bottom right.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
So. I love that little Easter egg, but yeah, and it seems like Ray Palmer's got a full Atom suit here, which I like too. And it looks very reminiscent of the suit that Wally's wearing, just a different symbol. Almost like the same kind of design. So it's like, well, what were they all working on at Star Labs?
It's almost like these suits were built to be like effectively their space suits to go into the still point, and they've got different symbols for whatever reason. And the one that obviously Wally ended up with had the lightning bolt on it. So. I say lightning bolt. It's not really a lightning bolt. His suit's more like 2 arrows, to be honest. But
yeah, but it makes for a lightning bolt, for lack of better. But also, did you notice when Wally walks into the lab, there is a vaguely cyborg looking.
I did.
I don't know if it's a suit or what, but it's there.
Yeah, it looks like Cyborg if he was all robot, basically. So you can kind of see that they're connecting the dots of, if Victor ends up injured, how Silas will use this robot technology that he's already made to fix him up, right? You can sort of see the connective tissue there, which is good. So I think this is a pretty good issue. I don't think I like it as much as the last two. I think it inherently... just the way it started felt a little bit abrupt to me. It was going like full throttle in a way that was a little bit off-putting. But I think once it slowed down, the scene with Linda, I think, is very good. I'm looking forward to progressing that, and her being mad at him for ditching her. and I'm also, you know, I'm enjoying the Rogues and their kind of chemistry together. And the tease of like what's going on in this larger mythology of all these different scientists that we get to use here, that we're working all together in some, like the idea that, okay, we've got these 4 founders of Star Labs and then they all split up, and you know, the fact that Silas is apparently still in the real world. We know Barry's been lost at the still point. Ray Palmer's somewhere in there as well, but we also know that
atomic space. Yeah,
but we also know that Mirror Master, the 4th one, is like trapped in the mirror, like sort of dimension connected to the still point. So it's like a group of explorers who, like, weird science stuff happened to all of them, and they've all ended up in these weird like sci-fi places as a result.
Definitely feels like an absolute version of the Challenge of the Unknown. You know,
a little bit, yeah.
They're all kind of lost, and
but it's left all these different breadcrumbs in different directions that all kind of come back to the central idea of a group of scientists who were investigating something they didn't know much about. So I like that it's starting to feel like it's taking shape in that sense, which is cool. But I don't think this issue as a whole was as tight as the previous 2 issues. But I think that's because my favorite thing about this book so far is the Wally-Linda relationship, and this one inherently pulls away from it a little bit. But I do appreciate that it's supposed to feel like that in this one. So, you know, it's still good. Art's solid enough. I think you know, Robles is doing a pretty good job. I like the scene where he leaves Linda. There's a nice sort of like pacing to that, with him speeding off on the side and leaving it blank at the end.
Yeah, and the way that he draws him going away too is very unique to this version of Flash, where it's almost like he's digitizing.
It is just the red rectangles as opposed to the just the blur that you would normally
get. The lightning
get.
Bolts.
Yeah.
So, it's I like it. I like the way that Robles draws the action here too, because it's not like a ton, but when we do get it, like the way that Wally vibrates through the door, it's the way that like there's a shape, but you have to look at it. It's almost like an abstract, version of it. And then when he comes through the door and he's, whole again, he's almost in the same form, like the same pose that he was in the kind of abstract. So again, anytime they do something different with the Flash, I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. All right, Matt, what are you giving Absolute Flash 15?
I mean, it's a 7.5.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think 7.5 sounds about right. I had some critiques and things that didn't feel as good as some recent issues, but I think 7.5 is still very reasonable.